Progression. The process of developing or moving gradually towards a more advanced state. To progress in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is to move forward, starting from humble beginnings as you grow and advance your collection. We all know the drill, moving forward in Yu-Gi-Oh!'s timeline, opening up a box of each set to advance our collection and open up new and varied strategies. If this is what progression means in Yu-Gi-Oh!, then antithetical to this is sealed. Seal. To fasten or close securely. Both limiting and restrictive. Playing sealed in Yu-Gi-Oh! Involves opening up a box of one set and building a deck out of only those pools. It requires skills in learning the ins and outs of an individual set and the ability to identify the outliers and what counters are available to combat them. Progression and sealed are as diametrically opposed to each other as Yu-Gi boomers and Yu-Gi zoomers, but no longer. Enter the Seal of Prog-Richalcos. In this series, in each episode, myself and Tobias will open 2 sets from Yu-Gi-Oh! Moving chronologically forward. We will then play 3 matches against each other. The first 2 being sealed showdowns where we push limited deck building to their limits, the third being a progression match where we can use every card in our collection to build the most powerful deck at our disposal. This is the Seal of Prog-Richalcos. Quick disclaimer, prior to starting this series, Tobias had only ever played Yu-Gi-Oh! As a child, so we'll be learning the rules as we go. These matches were also originally played in 2021 onwards when we embarked on this journey as a way of reconnecting and staying in touch every weekend. So using the YGO Pro Deck Collection Manager to showcase our pools, and Dueling Book's own replay system, I kindly invite you to watch the Seal of Prog-Richalcos. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Seal of Prog-Richalcos. Last episode was pretty crazy, managed to pull out a good amount of wins over Tobias, but that's to be expected given he's brand new to Yu-Gi-Oh! And the first 2 sets are kind of a cluster anyway. We're now moving on to set number 3, Magic Ruler. Now this is the set where you can first really identify the roots of Yu-Gi-Oh! As we know it. It introduces a handful of quick play spells that are game-breakingly strong, like Mystical Space Typhoon, the terrifying hand removal in Delinquent Duo, Forceful Sentry, and Confiscation. We get the Toons, which I guess are Yu-Gi-Oh!'s first proper archetype, even before the Gravekeepers get added soon. We get a lot of powerful equipped spells that actually do something. Axe of Despair giving you 1000 attack is pretty darn useful. Megamorph is a very interesting card. Broken stuff like Snatch Steel debut here and Giant Trunade, and even Painful Choice, which back in the day wasn't that bad. It only gets bad when we get to Invasion of Chaos. So yeah, some pretty good stuff all rarities here. The secret rares actually probably are the worst of the bunch. Like Serpent Night Dragon is iconic, but it's not very useful, and same with Blue Eyes Toon Dragon. Into the supers, yeah, you've got a few good stuff, like Mahavelo is very strong with all these new equipped spells. Messenger of Peace just enables some shockingly bad decks to function. In the rares, we get Rush Recklessly, which is really surprisingly good, just like 700 attack boost as a sort of quick play in the damage step is very useful. You get the Recruiters here, which obviously have a long life ahead of them in any sort of variety of decks. I mean, Mystic Tomato saw play up until like 2010, and we were in, what, 2002? So you got some cards here that definitely stood the test of time. Cyberjar, crazy then, not so good now. I mean, he's still like, if this guy resolves even in year 2023, I mean, unless you have a negate, shit's happening. Like, this card is pretty darn strong. I don't know why Pot of Greed is listed here in MRL. Maybe it was reprinted in it as in Europe, I guess, because this should obviously only include the MRL cards. But regardless, we got also stuff like Toll, which is another awful stun card. I think Chain Energy is in this set, isn't it? Where's Chain Energy? Chain Energy. Ugh, horrible cards to play against. We get some OG staples like Gravekeeper Servant also for these kind of stunny decks. You get the really good field spell buffers for the different attributes, which really actually lend themselves well to some really good creative strategies early on. Malevolent Nuzzler is a pretty solid common equipped spell. And Griggle was the first ever card I got. The first pack of Yu-Gi-Oh! My parents got me as a child was a Magic Ruler one, and the very first card in it was Griggle, so I have a certain affinity to this card. He's not very good. I mean, there's very few cards at this stage in Yu-Gi-Oh! That shift monsters' control. I used to misread this guy, so I thought it was when the turn ends and control of the game shifts to the opponent, you get 3000. So I was like, oh, this card's crazy, I'll normal summon it, end my turn, gain 3,000 life points, because at that point, when you're a kid, you think that life points are the only thing that really matter in the game. So even though you're summoning a 350 attack dude that's going to die to anything, you gain 3,000 life points, so you're winning really, aren't you? We get Labyrinth Wall, which is probably one of the better 1 tribute monsters just because he's hard to out. We also get the start of the ritual mechanic here with Performance of Sword, Hungry Burger, which has obviously seen a renaissance in recent times with the Nouvelle archetype, and Crab Turtle, who is actually a premier attacking threat at this stage in Yu-Gi-Oh! Spear Cretin enables some awful loops, and I hope neither Tobias or I pull more than 2 of it. Flipping over to our collection, this is what we managed to accrue from this set. We got 1 Axe of Despair, which is a really good ultra rare to have. A couple of Amoeba, which does enable some funny stuff, but not anything I'm really interested in playing. We did get the 1 Illusion Ritual, but we did not get a Relinquish to make use of it with. We did get the 1 Cyber Jar. Double Crab Turtle is incredible, because that is definitely a viable strategy in these coming sets. We got Delinquent Duo, which is just awful for anybody to have to face. On the recruit account, we got 1 Giant Rat, we got 1 Mother Grizzly, we got 4 Mystic Tomato, which is probably the best one to have at this stage in the game, just enabling you to cycle into some darks. We got double Shining Angel, which is also pretty good, 1 UFO Turtle, and we did manage to pull 3 copies of Upstart Goblin. Starting from the top, we've got Labyrinth Wall, premier defensive threat, just 1 tribute, summon him, pretty hard to out. So Haitai Gyojin goes up to 2150 with Umiruka, which is very strong, and Guardian of the Throne Room likewise goes up to 2150 with Luminous Spark. So these are sort of our nice vanilla threats. We pulled a Mahavelo, so we want to make use of her, especially with Axe and Malevolent Nuzzler, to get to some crazy attack values. We did get the triple Mystic Tomato, not much that these guys actually do other than just float into each other, but that just provides us with fodder for our ritual spells to be able to make Crab Turtle. We've got 1 Senju to search out the Crab Turtle and double Sonic Bird to search out the Turtle Oath. Double Shining Angel, like with the Mystic Tomato, is just to float into itself. 1 Cyber Jar. I don't ever really want to be using this card because it's just chaotic as all hell, but you know, it might come up. 1 Giant Rat, who does float into Karate Man. So the theory behind this is if Giant Rat gets killed by battle and I float into Karate Man, on my next turn, I can just have a 2000 attack dude. Yes, it dies during the end phase, but it might clear an opponent's threat, so I thought the 1-on-1 was maybe worth playing, certainly in the main deck. We've got double Crab Turtle as previously explained, 1 Umiruka, triple Luminous Spark. We're only playing 2 equipped spells just because I'm very worried about Tailor of the Fickle being used to turn these equips against me. If I feel like Tobias isn't playing the Fickle Tailor, I'll probably side in some more Malevolent Nuzzlers for games 2 and 3, but at the moment I'm just wanting to put 2 in the main deck. We got the Delinquent Duo, so we have to run it, even though it's probably the most unfun card in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Triple Upstart just to make our deck a bit more consistent. Triple Rush Recklessly, it's just a really good way to win combat. I've got double Tail of the Fickle. If I feel that Tobias is not really playing the equipped spell cards, this card can easily be sided out. As long as I see a couple of Malevolent Nuzzlers, this card is really good at just being able to turn them against their own controllers. We've got double Turtle Oath for the Crab Turtle, and finally 2 Curse of Fiend. It's not actually a quick play, but it has to be activated during your standby phase. So you sort of have to set it, and in the following turn in your standby phase, you flip it up and it resolves. I'm fairly certain we misplay a lot in this, where we just use it in our standby phase without first setting it, but I'm pretty sure the ruling is that you have to set it first before you can actually play it, which is just bizarre. Alright, hopping into the first Magic Ruler Sealed duel, and we actually win the coin toss for once, which is very rare. Gonna elect go first here, and let's have a look and see how good our opening hand is. This is not bad, especially the Upstart Goblin. That just gets us into something, and we draw into Turtle Oath. Is this wise to Turtle Oath for Crab Turtle turn 1? Probably not. But you know, sometimes you just gotta. Sometimes you have to make the most powerful crab man that has ever lived. So we've passed him with that on board. Tobias goes for the Mahavelo into Luminous Spark into Malevolent Nuzzler. That puts her on 3,250 attack points.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Right, heading into battle here. Thankfully we have the Rush Recklessly to equalise, and we lose a lot of resources here, and I'm down to 1 card in hand. We draw into Umirika, which is not very useful in this situation. Tobias draws, gets rid of the Luminous Spark for a set field spell, which he flips. Chorus of Sanctuary. Uh-oh, we're getting some big chonkin defenders here. Passes turn with the set face down. We draw into the Turtle Oath, which is useless at the moment. In comes the Sonic Bird, which is going to draw Tobias a probably useful Turtle Oath coming up. We're just going to take 1400 from the Sonic Bird here. We draw Upstart Goblin, just going to fire off straight away, draw into Luminous Spark. Really isn't worth doing anything here, so we're just going to pass our turn. After getting rid of the Course of Sanctuary with our field spell. Down comes another 1400, and we are really out of this game at the moment. Tobias sets a mystery monster. Pass back to us. We go for the Sonic Bird here, just picks us up nothing, because I think we only pulled 2 Turtle Oath. So we're just going to head into battle, hit this set card, and it's a Banisher of the Light. We take the 600 here, pass our turn. Tobias just passes, turn back to ourselves. We draw High Tide Gyojin, which is really strong given we have the Umiruka. We're going to go for the Curse of Fiend here, and now pause a second. This is a massive misplay on my part. The card does not work this way. That's a big cheat on my part. In fairness to myself, like, this card has never had PSCT, and it's worded in such a way that it would imply you can just activate it from the hand during your standby phase. You can't. It's stupid.
You broke the rules! Everyone's gonna be mad! You broke the rules!
It is what it is. We all make mistakes, but I'm very sorry for that in advance. Right, heading forward in time, that puts his Banisher into attack mode, as well as his Labyrinth Wall. We're going to go for the Gyojin here and just get some big damage with Umiruka coming out and swing over that big wall. Pass the turn. Banisher gets tributed for another wall. Ever since I was a little kid, I dreamed of the day where I wouldn't be faced with a wall.
The wall beyond the wall is my birthright!
Curse of Fiend doesn't really do much. I mean, it could out the wall, but we don't really want to do it for one. Okay, Tale of the Fickle, it's a decent draw. We go for the Curse of Fiend.
You broke the rules! God damn! You broke the rules! You broke the rules!
Clear this second Labyrinth Wall. Sonic Bird to battle, ka-cha, and the Lab Wall goes down. At this point, despite our really bad turn 1, we're feeling like we've kind of stabilized a bit. We've got a similar card advantage each of us and decent things on the field. Gyojin sadly dies because Umiruka lowers his defense, so he's gone. We draw the Axe of Despair, and you know what? We're not gonna get a stronger monster this game. Just gonna put it on our Sonic Bird. Hope he can save us. Basically, we're all relying on this guy. Thankfully, he does clear the Shining Angel, bringing out Senju, which does not get its effect because it was special summoned. Tobias draws, and we're heading into the Turtle Oath territory. Gets rid of the Senju from field and the Hyozanryu from hand, and in comes Crab Turtle, being boosted by our own Umiruka. Down comes another Gyojin as well, which this is just a lot of damage. So Sonic Bird flops now, losing us 650, and then we're going to lose 2150 from the Gyojin, putting us very low with a few options left. We're drawing to Mystic Tomato, and that's actually probably the best draw in the deck, because this actually enables us to stabilize over the next couple of turns. We're just going to set the Tomato, pass the turn. Okay, thankfully Tobias goes for the Crab Turtle into the Tomato, so pops the Tomato, we're going to go into Tomato number 2, and then the Gyojin is going to strike over that and puts us into our final Tomato, and we're going to take 650 here, 750 here, sorry. Pass turn, and we draw Giant Rat. That's another pretty good draw. Just another any recruiters at this stage, anything that just keeps us alive. We are not going to be kept alive much longer when Whiptail Crow's coming down. Going to take the Mystic Tomato out. We have nothing left to float into. Crab Turtle's going to dispense with the Giant Rat, and the only thing we have is Karate Man, who sadly has to be summoned in attack mode. Just weak enough for the Gyojin to sweep over for game. Game 1 to Tobias. Entering Game 2, our hand is pretty bad, but thankfully we drew into Mystic Tomato, which actually enables us to do something. So we're just going to set the Tomato, set a Wash Recklessly, and pass. Down comes the High-Tide Gyojin, boosted by the Horn of the Unicorn to 2350, not much to sniff at, and another Horn up to 3050. This Gyojin is hornier than any Gyojin has any right to be. I don't know what kind of pictures he's been looking at. Probably Water Omatics, now that I think about it. Or Maiden of the Aqua.
We don't want to get our sweaters all wet. Better take them off. Splash fight!
I need some air. I need some air.
Anyway, Mystic Tomato floats into Mystic Tomato. We're going to get back to our turn. We're going to go for the double Malevolent Nuzzle here. putting our tomato up to 2800. Not quite enough, but a well-timed rush recklessly allows us to swing over the high-tide Gyojin, and now we see the downside of Horn of the Unicorn. Sure, it's 700 attack in the moment, but now the next 2 draws are going to be Horn. This is why the unicorns went extinct, folks. Fast has nothing going on, so pass it back to us. We're just going to swing it in with the big powerful tomato, 2800. Smacking his life points down. He draws the second Horn of the Unicorn, and it's our turn. And we just go Gyojin, plus the Umiwuka, and that's enough for game. Very quick game 2 here. Alright, heading into the final game of our sealed Magic Ruler.
Oh, my sweet summer child, what do you know?
I'm putting second, which I'm fine to do. I kind of prefer going second in early Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyway, especially in a format like this where there aren't really any traps. Decent hand to be fair. Tobias draws for turn and smacks down the Sonic Bird, which enables him to grab the Turtle Oath from the deck. He's going to go for Painful Choice here. Okay, I'm not sure what he can cook at this stage in Yu-Gi-Oh! It sends 3 Whiptail Crow, Protector of the Throne River, and High-Tide Gyojin. So basically, give me a 1650 you want. I decided to opt for the Whiptail Crow because I know that I've seen the other 2 field spells. Goes for the Turtle Oath immediately. So hang, I mean, I kind of respect the Painful Choice play. Get yourself a level 4 material for your ritual. Seems pretty good. And down comes the Crab Turtle, followed by Umiwuka. So mirroring kind of what I did in game 1, where you just go full Crab Turtle turn 1. It's now up to us to see whether we can out that. We go for a cheating Curse of Fiend and standby phase. And follow that up by Upstart Goblin into Cyberjar. Normal summon the Sonic Bird, grab the Turtle Oath, and then we're gonna give him the axe. And because Umiwuka lowered his defense, this is actually enough to clear the Crab Turtle. But of course, in the alternate timeline, while I'm not a cheat, I'm not a scrub, this would never have happened. I am sorry, Tobias. And if I win this duel, it is highly unearned. Sonic Bird comes down and picks up another Turtle Oath. And that's what we get this turn. We're just going to punch him in with our Sonic Bird here, deal 1000 here, puts Tobias back to 8k. Going to set the Cyber Jar just for the fun of it, passed in by Tobias. We draw a Guardian of the Throne, pretty good draw. I'm just going to flip the Cyber Jar. Damned be the consequences.
You are playing with forces beyond your ken.
So Tobias is going to mill out his 5 first of all. So he gets Turtle Oath, Crab Turtle, and the Malevolent Nuzzler to hand, which is pretty dangerous because that just is basically a free Crab Turtle on his next turn. And he gets 2 defenders in the form of Banisher of the Light, who's pretty useful, and Invader of the Throne, who I think is a little too slow to be good even in this format. So those 2 cards get set face down. We mill out double Malevolent Nuzzler, a Giant Rat, Mystic Tomato, and an Upstart. So we're going to grab 2 Recruiters and the 2 Malevolent Nuzzlers and the Upstart to hand. Since we know his guys are 1700 and 2000 respectively, we're just going to summon our Recruiters in attack mode because we know we can punch them over with the double Malevolent Nuzzler in the hand. We draw a Karate Man with our final Upstart Goblin, which really isn't that good given that's what we would want to float the Rat into. And we're going to nuzzle both of our guys and then just swing over his 2 defensive threats. Passing turn on that. Tobias draws and it's Turtle Oath time again. Down goes Wall Shadow and a second Wall Shadow. This card's art is fantastic, by the way. I've always loved the Gate Guardian and Labyrinth Wall adjacent cards. And in comes Crab Turtle, boosted by Malevolent Nuzzler to 3750 with the field spell 2. Easily swings over the Giant Rat and we take 1650 damage here. Tobias passes for turn and we draw, get another Upstart Goblin, have a 3000 life points, and we draw Guardian of the Throne Room. This stage we don't have enough to take out the Crab Turtle, so we're just going to set Karate Man and hope. We leave the Mystic Tomato in attack mode just so it can fend off some smaller threats. Okay, Crab Turtle goes in, we're going to take quite a bit of damage here, 1650, and then we're going to float into our second Tomato. Back to us, we grab the Sonic Bird. That doesn't really do too much for us. We're just going to set a new field spell and summon the Sonic Bird, just grab ourselves the final Turtle Oath. We're just trying to thin our deck to draw our own Crab Turtle, really turn our Tomato sideways. Down comes Mahavilo with the Luminous Spark as well, boosting it to 2050. That gets rid of our own Luminous Spark, and yep, we lose. Sorry, Crab Turtle goes into Sonic Bird here, and we take 1850, and the Mahavilo strikes over the Set Karate Man. Whew, not much we can draw to really get ourselves out of this, but Delinquent Duo is not bad. We're just going to fire it off. I know it's probably not optimal given we've only got a small amount of life points left, but we just whip 2 cards out of Tobias' hand, not bad. Hyo Zanryu goes down. This card is another really just classic looking stud. I remember getting this in the starter deck Kaiba before I even pulled it in Magic Ruler. Crazy cool card. And Magical Labyrinth as well goes down. We swing down our own Protector of the Throne Room and we just take out his Mahavilo here. Crab Turtle strikes forward and we lose our Guardian here, putting us down to a piddling 750. Draw for turn. Rush Recklessly isn't bad here. We're going to go for the Guardian, give it a Malevolent Nuzzler, head into battle, and damage step. We're going to Rush Recklessly just to get our guy powered over the line. 300 points of damage down, and the Crab Turtle is finally down. Tobias draws and sets. We get another Guardian. But at this point, we just want to shore up our defenses. So we're going to tribute the Mystic Tomato for the Lab Ball that's been sitting on our hand all this time. Strike on over this Shining Angel, which is able to float into a Senju. Okay, pretty good. At least I know he can't search another Crab Turtle with him. Tobias draws and passes. We draw our own Shining Angel, which we're just going to summon here. We're going to crash into the Senju so we can float into our second one. And then we're going to swing in for 19 and then 2850. So we're getting Tobias' life points down reasonably quickly now, especially when he passes once more. We just want to go play a little bit safe. We don't want to play into any big blowouts. So we go 2850 and 19 here. Pass turn. To be fair, we probably could have just won there, and yeah, Tobias admits defeat. Now at this point, even though the intro states that we do 2 sealed matches and then 1 progression deck, we're going to be breaking that rule many, many times because we did in fact build a progression deck from Magic Ruler, incorporating our LOB and Metal Raiders cards into it to duel with before we then opened Pharaoh Servant. So you know what? Some episodes you're going to get a million different duels. It doesn't matter. The onus is on me to do all this editing anyway, and I want to get these duels out there because they're fun. So don't listen to the intro. At some points, I think like when we did do Yugi as well, I built like 11 progression decks after that. So there's going to be some episodes that are just like 2 hours long because there's so many replays to commentate over. Right now we're looking at our progression Magic Ruler deck. So up top we've got 1 Giant Rat, Triple Jiraigumo, just probably the best level 4 lone monster that's available to us. We have the Mahavilo because we are opting to run Triple Malevolent Nuzzler. We've got Triple Mystic Tomato just to float into itself. Sangan also is a nice float of Mystic Tomato that can get us into basically any of our defenders or decent monsters. We've got double Shining Angel which can float into White Magical Hat or one of our 2 defenders if we need to really put up a wall. We are playing the Giant Soldier of Stone just as another 2k defender. Triple Guardian of the Throne Room is just 1650, and I feel that if Tobias is going to play anything, he's going to play the light deck. So I want to play a guy that might be benefited by Tobias' own Luminous Spark. 1 Lab Ball, double 2k defending ladies. We've got the Summon Skull as well. Spell-wise, we've got Axe of Despair for 1k attack or 1.5k for equipping it to Mahavilo. Delinquent Duo because this card is broken. Double Fissure is still just decent removal. Heavy Storm because now with stuff like the Equips and Rush Recklessly being set, this card actually has value in the main deck. Triple Malevolent Nuzzler, this card is just very strong at the moment, especially as the way that you can just pay to get it back to your top of the deck. That can come in handy. We have the Painful Choice because after seeing how Tobias used it in the sealed duels, this card is actually really useful even this early in Yu-Gi-Oh! We can just use it to dump 3 Upstart Goblins and a couple of monsters and just guarantee that we thin the deck by 5 so we see our better cards. Speaking of thinning the deck, Triple Pot of Greed because for some inane reason we allow this card to still be at 3 for this time period. Double Rush Recklessly just so we can win combat in surprise ways. 1 Tribute to the Doomed because this card is the GOAT. Triple Upstart Goblin and double Robin Goblin because we're still trying to sort of hand rip when we can. At this point we have banned Mirror Force because it just really isn't fun or fair, especially when I had recurable access to it using the Mask of Darknesses. In the side deck we've got Cyber Jar, Triple Spear Cretin because we might want to be a masochist at some point, double Paralyzing Potion just in case Tobias is able to overwhelm us with monsters that we can't really deal with, triple Remove Trap just in case he's also on the Robin Goblin play after seeing myself use it in the last episode. We've got the 3rd Rush Recklessly in case we need a bit more offensive pressure. 1 Shield and Sword because it could come up. Double Tail of the Fickle again if Tobias is on lots of equips. And then double Fairy's Hand Mirror, which I don't actually think affects anything at the moment, but it's a card. Anyway, let's head into the replays for this set. We lose the rock, paper, scissors, as I think is just the ceremonial way of things. I seem to lose it every single time. We're going second, and we draw into a pretty good hand with the double Upstart Goblin just letting us thin our deck more. So Tobias goes for the Turtle Oath right off the bat, no fear, gets rid of the Senju and the High-Tide Gyojin, brings out the unstoppable Crab Turtle plus Umi Reaper, and then Malevolent Nuzlocke. He's just all in on the Crab Turtle play.
I never lose!
Fortunately, it's actually pretty strong against our hand. We go for the double Upstart here, just draw 2 more. The Spider's pretty good. We're going to set the Robin Goblin, set the Sangan just to hope we can get into something better, and we're going to set Rush Recklessly to pass turn. Tobias just goes straight for battle and takes out the Sangan with relative ease.
With relative ease.
And we're going to grab Cyberjar. That basically is the very clean out to the Crab Turtle, so we're going to set Cyberjar down, and Tobias has no choice but to really battle into it. Flip Cyberjar open, and let's just see what we get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we ended up milling Tribute to the Doomed, Pot of Greed, and Rush Recklessly as our spells to hand, and Joy Gumo and Shining Angel in the field. Those are pretty darn good mills. Tobias gets Shield and Sword, Rush Recklessly, and Painful Choice to hand, and Dark Elf and High-Tide Gyojin to the field. Can't do that, we're in the battle phase. He's going to slam down the Rush Recklessly on the Dark Elf, boosting it to 2900. I thankfully have my own Rush Recklessly to boost my Joy Gumo up to 3100. And so you paid the 1200 for the damage and the battle. Main phase 2, down comes Fissure, and that's a pretty solid out to Joy Gumo. I was wondering why Tobias didn't attack with Gyojin, but otherwise I would have floated into another Shining Angel and then Fissure wouldn't have been live, so pretty smart heads up play there. Tobias passes his turn with this strong Gyojin out, and we draw for turn. We go for the Pot of Greed here, although I don't really know why, because I've just got so much shit in my hand already. Okay, we draw into Delinquent Duo and Upstart. Okay, that was why. Upstart for another draw. Delinquent. This is just the DM staples just never stop. Delinquent Duo, we're just going to whip out Painful Choice and Shield and Sword, and then we're going to fire our own Painful Choice. With this we'll mill Pot, Giant Rat, Guardian of the Throne, and Guardian of the Throne, and we get given the Giant Rat, which is fine. That throws us into allowable, we're not too fussed about that. At this point we're just going to go for the Tribute to the Doomed, Joy Gumo, get rid of that Gyojin. I'm going to Tribute for Summon Skull, flip open the Whirlwind Goblin, and we force Tobias into a state where he has to top deck to stay in the game. Tobias draws for turn, sets a monster, so he's not out of it. We're just going to slam down the Joy Gumo, try and put some offensive pressure on. We are going to go for the flip. Heads always shreds, baby. Heads always shreds. Heads always shreds. Heads always shreds. Say it with me. Tails always fails. So we chunk out 4k life points so we do get over the Invader of the Throne, and then Summon Skull just beats on him for 2500, bring Tobias to 48. There's very little he can draw here that really gets him out of this. 7-colored fish is a pretty good one though. 2300 coming down hot, does sweep on over our Joy Gumo. We take 100 here. Our turn we draw the 4-star lady. That wasn't in our deck, was it? We draw a 4-star Ladybug of Doom. I didn't think that card was in our deck, but apparently it is. Okay, so I've just had to look into this. I've just gone back through some other replays, and yeah, 4-star Ladybug of Doom is a Pharaoh Servant card, but these are definitely the Magic Ruler progression decks. I'm not quite sure how this card ended up in my deck.
That kid must have been working for Weevil. I bet he slipped it in.
Thankfully, I don't think it comes up, but if it does, that's another major sort of misplayed cheat on my behalf this episode, and I'm sorry for that. Attack over the 7-colored fish and easily do another 1650 with the Protector of the Guardian. Opponent sets a card, we go for the Giant Soldier of Stone, beef on in with the Summon Skull. It's into which we're going to go Rush Recklessly on our Protector of the Throne and Giant Soldier for game.
How'd the card game go last night, Mr. Krabs?
I lost.
Alright, heading into game 2, Tobias elects to put me in first. So we draw for turn, we're getting into a Labyrinth Hall here. And go for our Pot of Greed to draw 2. Just going to set the Mystic Tomato and pass. Tobias leads with his pot of greed 2, fair enough, draws 2, and flies down the Umuwuka, followed up by the 7 coloured fish. This is easily enough, especially with a malevolent nuzzle. It's a 3,700 attack fish now. I mean, if you're a fisherman and you got this bad boy, you'll be feeding your family for a month, man.
One big ass fish.
Damn. Okay, so Mystic Tomato falls down, and we get into our second tomato. Pass the turn, and we grab Painful Choice. I'm going to fire the Painful Choice, hit Upstart, Giant Soldier, and Jirai Gumo. We get given the Giant Soldier. Personally, I would have given the Upstart, but, you know, I'm not here to dictate. We're just going to... Sorry. We're going to tribute the Mystic Tomato for Loud Windfall, and then shield and sword it, making our wall 3k and flipping 7 coloured fish to 800 attack. Even with the equips and stuff, still 2,700, still beefy, but our wall does clear it for 300 damage. Probably not the best play, probably should have just tribute to the Dune, but you know, I wanted the value of the wall attacking. The boss does put a Malevolent Nuzzle on top of the deck, which is a bit annoying for us, so he draws into that, drops the Senju, which grabs him a Crab Turtle, and then down comes the Malevolent Nuzzler, putting him to 2,100, slapping over our wall for a big amount of damage here. Our turn, we draw into Rush Recklessly, which is pretty good. We're going to go for Tribute to the Doom too. We're going to pitch the Giant Soldier of Stone to get rid of that Senju. And you know how much I love hand ripping. Down comes White Magical Hat, and we're going to give him the Nuzzler to make him 17. Set the Rush Recklessly just to give him a bit of protection in the opponent's turn, and just swing on in. Whip a card from Tobias' hand. This time we go for the middle, and we have taken out that Turtle Oath, so hopefully that will detract him from being able to go into his Crab Turtle. Down comes Gyojin, 2150. He's going to strike into battle. We do have the Rush Recklessly here, so unless Tobias has his own in hand, this is going to be painful. Loses the Gyojin, and we get to rip the Crab Turtle out. He would have had it if I hadn't White Magic Hat last turn. I'm assuming the last card I had is probably another monster. Now we've kind of got domination of the board. We're just going to go for Shining Angel. We're just going to punch in, take that last card out of his hand, and that will pretty much clean up the game here. Game 3. Tobias selects to go first in the final draw, and sadly we have drawn our cheating 4-star Ladybug. So hopefully that doesn't come up. We draw a Delinquent Duo, just fire it off. There's nothing more free than Delinquent Duo in early Yu-Gi-Oh! Get rid of the Invader and the Giant Soldier. Gonna set our 4-star and set Robin Goblin. Down comes Dark Elf, pass. We go Pot of Greed, draw into Sangan another pot. Follow it up with our second pot, draw into a couple of good cards. I'm gonna set the Spirit of the Harp and pass. Tobias sets, passes. This is scintillating gameplay. I'm going to go for the Guardian here, and we're just going to give him the Axe of Despair, 2,650, and smack on over the Dark. And fire the Robin Goblin as well, take out the Tailor of the Fickle. Tobias draws return, the Sonic Bird picks up the Turtle Oath. Fires off the Turtle Oath, getting rid of the Senju and the Giant Soldier and the other Giant Soldier for the inimitable Crab Turtle. Finishes it up with an Umuwuka, boosting it to 3,050. Smacks on over our powerful Protector, and at this point we don't really feel emboldened to use Axe's effect to stack to the top of the deck. Passes turn. We draw a Pot of Greed. That's our third one. Might as well fire it off. I'm not really sure what our outs are, but I love Tribute to the Doom so much.
Now, don't worry about a thing.
Benbow.
Your pals are gonna help you change your ways.
I don't know, Peter. I'm not sure I can do this. Meg, get out of the way.
Get rid of the Giant Soldier, get rid of the Crab Turtle, and at this point we just go for Jirai Gumo. We're not electing to attack. I don't really want to risk my life points at this stage. Fast passes, and now we can really start hand ripping. We go for our second Jirai Gumo pass. We're just playing a bit conservative, I suppose. We don't really want to lose too many life points, and we don't reckon Tobias can do too much. Guardian of the Throne is an excellent draw here, and at this point we're just going to flip everything and go and win. So thankfully, the cheating 4-star Ladybug did nothing, and that is the match to me. Okay, this is a pretty good hand. I mean, any hand with double pot is good to me. Tobias leads with the Gyojin, followed by Umiwuka to buff him up to 2150. We draw, double pot, and we're going to go for the painful. Sorry, we're just going to go one pot first, then we're going to go into the painful, dump our upstarts and a couple of Robin Goblins, as well as a Jiraigumo. We get given the Jiraigumo, which is pretty good for us. That out to Gyojin. Get another pot of Greed, draw into Giant Rat and a second Jiraigumo. Go for a final upstart Goblin, draw a Fissure. We're just going to go for the Jiraigumo here, set the Fissure, pass it down. We don't want to risk half our life points this early in the game. Down comes a set monster and we get fissured ourselves, which is fine. It is what it is. Gyojin comes in and slaps us with his little tentacle fins. We go for our own fissure now, swipe out his Gyojin, go for the rat, and we're just going to attack into what he has set. And it's the Witch of the Black Forest, what we're picking up here. Tobias grabs himself the 7 coloured fish, which is pretty powerful with Umiwuka out on the field. Down he comes. 7 coloured fish smacks on over the giant rat, and we take a bit of damage here, 900, not too shabby. We are going to grab the lab wall here. Passes back to our turn. We're just going to tribute the lab wall for the summoned skull, just so we can clear this fish, as well as retain a pretty potent board threat. Pass our turn again. Tobias draws, and down comes a sonic bird. Grabs himself Turtle Oath, and now this is getting quite scary. We get Rush Relatively, which is very useful, especially if he's going for the Crab Turtle line next turn. Just going to go for the Shining Angel here, crash with the Sonic Bird, float into our White Magical Hat here, hit for 1k, and get to spin a card out of his hand. We're going to take this one. Ooh, what a good snipe. Crab Turtle's gone. Down comes the Dark Elf plus Malevolent Nuzzler, goes in for the combat into our Summoned Skull. We're going to let this go through. I don't really want to waste our Rush Relatively yet. Tobias pays his 1000. We draw into a Mystic Tomato. We're just going to go for the fissure, get for the nice 2-for-1 here, get rid of the Malevolent Nuzzler as well. Tobias actually just elects to put that onto the top of his deck. I'm going to go for a Tomato here, go 2400. And what are we whipping here? And we whip the Giant Soldier of Stone, which actually could have stood against our cards. And that's the match. Alright, I'm going to do this one fast forward because there's a lot of similar things. Alright, Muka comes now. We go for the painful choice, dumping 2 Jiraigumos, a couple of upstarts, and Fissure. We get the upstart Goblin, which we're going to fire off a second one. Draw into Guardian and Robin Goblin. Go for the Fissure, clear out the Muka, set 2 and pass. It's going to go for Senju, pick up the Crab Turtle. Turtle Oath, go into the Crab Turtle, clears our dude. We have nothing going on really. We're just going to take a butt ton of damage from these guys. We're going to go for Guardian of the Throne here, plus the Robin Goblin attack over. Pitches Shield and Sword. It's going to slam down the Witch of the Black Forest. We're going to take a load of damage from these two, put ourselves onto 650. And the Mahavelo just cleans our clogs. Okay, these are some decent cards. We're going to go for the Delinquent Duo right off the bat. Pitch 2 cards out to Tobias' hand. Upstart for 1. Going to go for Pot of Greed into 2. Put another Pot of Greed into 2 more. We're going to go for the Jiraigumo Malevolent Nuzzler plus 2 set. Go for, oh my gosh. We're just chunking this dude down. We're going to go Painful for 5. Grab Mystic Tomato here. Sangun's going to attack over the Witch. Gonna whip 2, go for Muka, and then yeah, that just about cleans up the game. Okay, these rules just do not stop. Okay, and you go for the Muka. Delinquent Duo whips out 2 cards from his hand, picks these 2 Muka and Crab Turtle. We're going to go for the upstart Goblin, followed by the Pot of Greed. Painful choice for 5 here. And we get back the upstart Goblin out of that. Upstart Goblin grabs ourselves a Mystic Tomato, and we're going to go for White Magical Hat, set 2, Acts of Despair, punching over the Muka, pitch card. Tobias draws, painful choice of his own, sends 2 fissures and triple cards. We're going to give him a fissure. Cleans up our dude, which don't mind too much. We're going to take 1800 from the 7 colour fish here. Going to set our own Mystic Tomato. Going to grab himself Crab Turtle with Senju. 7 colour fish attacks over our Mystic Tomato. We're going to float into a second one. Doesn't want to go risk the second attack. We're going to go Malevolent Nuzzler, boost our guys to 2100 and pitch over the 7 colour fish. We get rid of Senju. We're going to go for Shining Angel here. Attacks over his Senju, and our Mystic Tomato rips another card out of Tobias' hand. It's sort of the Dark Elf this time. Sets a monster. We're going to punch in. This time it's a Giant Soldier, and then with our final two, we're just going to clean up the last card in hand and pretty much end Tobias's chances here.
Rita, I'm reliving the same
duel
over and over.
Magic Ruler Progression.
These never end. When is this match ever going to end? Tobias sets a monster, we set a monster. Tobias sets another monster, we summon them. Have we go through the Acts of Despair, we summon the Mystic Tomato. Clean out both of his monsters. He grabs himself 7 colored fish with the Witch's Black Force. We're going to set another card. Umu, who comes down, double boosted by the Malevolent Nuzzler plus the 7 colored fish. We float from one tomato into another. We draw a Pot of Greed, goes into our second Malevolent Nuzzler. We're just going to attack him with our beefy Mahavilo for 4,250 attack. Goes in again. We're doing a lot of damage with our 2 little recruiters here. Cleaning Tobias out. We're going to go for double rush recklessly for game. And we're these are just never ending.
Magic Ruler Progression.
Forever and forever, 100 years.
Magic Ruler Progression.
Things. Me.
Magic Ruler Progression.
Running around in
Magic Ruler Progression.
time. All day long, forever.
Why do we do so many of these? Okay. Tobias sets a monster, we go for Painful Choice, sending ourselves triple Upstart and double Joragumo. We go for the normal summon of Protector of the Throne. We're going to rush at the same damage step to get over the Invader. 7 colored fish comes down, smacks us over the head with the Yumiruka. We go for Pot, draw 2, Fissures cleans up. We're going to normal summon this Joragumo, set a card. Giant Soldier Stone comes down, Shield and Sword flips through our Joragumo, which is a pretty pirate play. We just go for the Giant Soldier here, attacking over the. So we just go for our Giant Rat, attacking over the Giant Soldier. Giant Rat cleans again, floats into a Witch. Sentry comes down and grabs himself Turtle Oath. Finally, now we're going to use the Witch and 7 colored fish to make Crab Turtle. With the Witch, we pick up a third 7 colored fish. Go for attack over the Giant Rat and attack directly. We float into ourselves, so we attack into the Giant Soldier Stone, which we are going to boost with the Rush Recklessly, so we keep a card. We drew into Soldier of Summon Skull, which keeps us in the game, especially with the Acts of Despair. We clear out the Turtle. We're going to attack him with this, and then just go direct with the Protector of the Throne for 1600 here. Mahavelo comes through and we get Tailor of the Fickled, which is devastating. I'm going to swap our guy to defense, and this is pretty much game over. We lose. We keep going. We sided in Spear Cretin, which does nothing, but it's just a waste. We take a load of damage from the Crab Turtle into Crab Turtle. We're going to go for Joragumo plus Rush Recklessly, pay half our life points. Apparently we called Heads Toy because Heads always shreds. Fissure cleaned it out. We're going to go for the Shining Angel here. Shining Angel is going to get wrecked by High Tide Gyojin. We're going to float into a Spirit of the Harp. Our turn, we're just going to go Obstacle Goblin, grab ourselves a Pot of Greed, draw 2 more. Painful Choice, mill a million. Gets ourselves a Mystic Tomato, which we're pretty happy about. Going to tribute for a Summon Skull, clean over the Gyojin. Tobias are going to flip the Invader and takes the Wait, what? How does this work? How much represents the inscription with this card? Oh, okay, just in his main phase he flipped that and grabbed the Summon Skull from us. Okay. We're lost here. Okay, so after that descent into madness at the hands of Crab Turtle, I had to take a break, sleep it off. We're back, it's a new day. We're going to look through the Pharaoh Servant card list, as well as our collection, and then deck profiles, and then those decks. Hopefully these duels are substantially less hellish than the Magic Ruler ones were. So looking at Pharaoh Servant, this is the first set that truly is just plain unfun. We've got stuff like Imperial Order, which has been busted since release all the way through till now. Even within errata, this card is quite possibly one of the top 5 most just busted ass cards ever printed. Jinzo as well for the time period, just shutting down all trap effects is just killer. Obviously in this day and age he's not very good, but he's seen sporadic play for a good number of years, probably up until 2012 really was when he kind of dipped out. Super rares from this set, we have Powerside, which was funny in the anime and the OCG artwork is horrific. Magical Hats lead to some strange shenanigans, but generally isn't that good. No Run of Crossout and Dust Tornado are both pretty accessible removal options at super rare, so those that definitely shaped a lot of early Yu-Gi-Oh's metagame. Limiter removal is great, but the machines we have at the moment aren't very good, so it's going to take a while before this card becomes useful. Gift with the Iron Knight is just funny. In the rare slot, you have some of the most unfun cards ever, Morphing Jar 2 and Gravity Bind. These two cards are just killer, nobody likes them, and they are just make for horrendous game states. Prohibition is a really sick continuous spell that can just basically, especially in such a limited environment, it's a really good side deck option. If I know what deck Tabas is running, I can just bring this in and then ice whatever his key card is. No Mana Extermination is actually easy to attain spell trap removal, so that's really useful to have at the rare slot. Michizure likewise is pretty good reactive monster removal. In the Ultra Rare, you have some really strong revival cards in Call of the Haunted and Premature Burial. Thousand Eyes Restrict becomes really great when we get Magical Scientist, and these other cards aren't too good. In the common slot, we have the infamous Lock, the DNA Surgery, and Insect Barrier. Where's Insect Barrier? Oh, down here. And Insect Barrier, which are just plain... It's just plain dumb, and there's very few things at this stage in Yu-Gi-Oh! That really outs it. I think Jinzo is the best out because he can negate the continuous effect of DNA Surgery. Time Seal is also stupid, just skipping the opponent's draw phase, and the rest of these cards aren't too much to write home about. Flicking over to our collection, this is what we managed to pull from this set. We got one of the 4-star Ladybug of Doom, which is quite disappointing as this is a common and a very strong piece of removal this early on in the game. We did get the Beast of Tawal, which is probably the second best one tribute monster. I would put it actually above Summon Skull just because of its premier defensive stats that make it like difficult to out, even with stuff with Shield and Sword and Curse of Fiend. Bubonic Vermin is just kind of like a recruiter into itself. Bombardment Beetle you can flip open to just pop an opponent's set monster, well, on the basis that it might be a flip monster. So that has some applications given we've got Bite Shoes and Bubonic Vermin and the 4-star Ladybug of Doom all in this little sealed format. We've just got some decent attackers in the Darkfire Soldiers. We sadly did not pull a single DNA Surgery and only one Insect Barrier, so that little lock is offline for us. We weren't able to get one Jinzo, which is incredible. This card is going to be basically a staple in more or less every progression deck I build going forward, so this is a really good card to see. We got double Michizure, which is probably about as many as you need. I think 3 might be a bit overkill, but this card is just generally good removal. We did get the triple Minor Goblin Official. We only got one Light of Intervention, and it's annoying because it's quite a good side deck card. 2 Morphing Jar 2, I hate this card. Who doesn't know? 1 No Mana Extermination as some spell trap removal. I would have liked to have got more, but obviously beggars can't be choosers. We did get the 1 Prohibition, so this is again going to just be like a side deck staple going forward. We got triple Solemn Wishes, so this sealed match is going to be agonizing. And we did pull Thousand Eyes Restrict, which will be useful down the line. Alright, so this is the deck we managed to brew up for our Pharaoh Servant Sealed Match. We've got the Beast of Tawal and 1 Twin-Headed Fire Dragon as our main 1 tribute monsters, along with the Jinzo as well. These are basically the cards that try and help finish games, because a lot of the 4-star monsters are statted in such a way that they either line up against each other very nicely with like Darkfire Soldiers just crashing into themselves or Kuwagata, or just too defensively strong to withstand them in Island Turtle. So having these tributes is almost mandatory to just be able to push through some of these bigger bodies. So yeah, so we've got the Sky Scout. We only managed to pull one of this, which is a bit disappointing because, like with the 7-color fish, which we missed completely, this is just another generic vanilla 1800 with no downside. So I only have one of those out of the possible 6 I could have in my collection by this point. We've got the triple Darkfire Soldier number 2, 1 Soldier 1, triple Kuwagata, and triple Island Turtle. These are just kind of format staples for this. We do have the 1 Jinzo, which is our one and only out to the Insect Barrier lock, except we do have Prohibition. If we sense Tabas is on that, we can maybe use this to ice one of those cards. We've got the triple Bubonic Vermin. This card is just really good for tribute fodder. It just floats into itself and allowing you to easily set up for one of your big plays. We have 1 4-star Ladybug of Doom. Would have liked to have got a couple more of these because it's very favourable against all these like 4-star vanillas, but you know, it is what it is. We do have double Morphing Jar number 2, which it just creates chaotic game states, but basically can be used if you're... This is like the nuclear option. If you're losing, this card can be decent to go into. Double Bite Shoes. We're really scraping the bottom of the barrel with some of these cards. This shoe basically swaps a monster to defense mode, or changes a defense mode monster to attack mode. Bombardment Beetle is a strange one, because if Tobias isn't on some of these flip guys, this card is just completely useless. But if we read that he's playing stuff like the 4-star Ladybug of Doom, like Bubonic Vermin, like his own Bite Shoes, this can be a really good way of just icing that card before it gets any value. We've got the one Burning Land. This is a pseudo win condition. If I get Insect Barrier DNA locked, then this is one of the few ways I have to actually win the game. Double Ground Collapse is just funny to draw multiple of these like earlier in the game and just shut out Tobias from basically playing monsters. It's sort of the Kashtira Shangri-La of the early Yu-Gi-Oh sets. One Extermination just to try and pop some back row before they become problematic, and one Prohibition just to be able to call Barrier or Surgery depending on the need. Double Solemn Wishes for some life point gain and stall. We have triple Earthshaker, which is kind of a removal spell. Like, it's not very good, but it's better than nothing. Magic Drain is here because if Tobias is on a similar strategy where he's playing like Ground Collapse, I want to be able to ensure I have zones for my monsters. Michizure is just probably the best all-round monster removal. Obviously it's dead if Jinzo's on the field, but otherwise this card is just really good at being able to equalise. And 2 Minor Goblin Official just to give us another extra win con along with a Burning Land. So if the opponent gets low enough with Burning Land, we flip over a couple of Minor Goblin Officials and it's just game over. Okay, so heading into the first game, for once I actually won the rock, paper, scissors, letting us go first. Looking at our opening hand, it seems pretty clear that our win con in this game is going to be burn, so we just set ourselves the Bubonic Vermin and the Minor Goblin Official and pass turn. Tobias slams down the Darkfire Soldier after setting 3 and just passes. To be fair, that's probably the right call given 4-star Ladybug of Doom exists. We're going to flip our Bubonic Vermin here. It's really good value since we drew into another 1 tribute monster, set ourselves the second Bubonic Vermin from the deck, and tribute the first one off for the twin-headed Fire Dragon. We're just going to head straight to battle and smack on in there for 500. We're going to start the Burning Land ticker now. We have more life points than the opponent, and this is going to basically be our clock. Every turn Tobias will take 500, and then once he's below 3000, we can flip the Minor Goblin Official and wrap the game up quickly. In theory, I suppose. We draw into Island Turtle, take our own 500 from Burning Land, and we get Time Sealed, so we skip our next draw phase. We're just going to normal summon the Skies Count. I'm just feeling like we might as well go aggressive here. We'll go in the twin-headed into whatever it's set, and it turns out to be an Overdrive, whose photo hasn't loaded. Tobias flips open the DNA Surgery and calls Insect. This is not good for us. Takes another 5 from the Burning Land, and down comes the Insect Barrier. And at this point, we can no longer attack. Grouching Kurodaka comes down, just trades for the Bubonic Vermin, so we float into the final one. Take another 5 from the Burning Land each. Tobias goes for the Cold Wave, shutting out all spells and traps until his next turn. Summons down the Darkfire Soldier number 2 and just clears the final. Passes it back to us. We draw into Bite Shoes, which is not very useful in this scenario, so we're just going to set it, take another 500. Tobias takes his own 500 from the Burning Land. He sets down a Mystery Monster and it's back to us. At this point, we're feeling pretty confident, and a second Minor Goblin Official just more or less guarantees the win here. So we take the 500 from our own Burning Land and we just set the second Goblin Official. At this point, we're going to go for the Ground Collapse just to freeze out the rest of Tobias' zone so he can't summon monsters. He draws, takes his 500 here, sets another card. On our turn, we get another Grouching Kuwagata. He double DNA Surgeries, which is fine. We're just going to pass here. When Tobias takes his 500 from the Burning Land. Now Tobias is at below 3000 life points. We can flip open both our Minor Goblin Officials, and he's got 2 turns before he dies. So taking 1500 this first standby phase. Is there anything he can do? He draws, and that's game. Alright, on to game 2. Tobias likes to go first on this one, which is fair enough. We draw a pretty reasonable hand, just about as good as we get, especially with the Prohibition. Now we know he's on the Insect Barrier shenanigans. This can help us actually beat that. So Tobias sets 3 and sets a Mystery Monster. On our turn, we draw into our own Bubonic Vermin. We get Time Sealed to skip our next draw phase, which is fine. We're just going to go for the Prohibition. We're going to call Insect Barrier here.
That wasn't supposed to happen!
And we're going to set a Mystery card, as well as summon our Darkfire Soldier. Darkfire Soldier is going to head into combat. It's Morphing Jar number 2.
Get ready for some fun.
So we get to excavate from our deck up to 1 monster and set it face down. It's the 4-star Ladybug of Doom, which is pretty good. I mean, it's a bit annoying because the surprise factor is ruined, but at least it will trade for level 4. So we set our 4-star down and pass a turn. Tobias just sets another monster and sets another back row and ends turn. Here we go for the Island Turtle.
I stand corrected! This isn't just an island, it's an island turtle!
We get time sealed again, so we skip our next draw phase. We're just going to go for the Island Turtle, smack in, and we get for 4-starred here, which is fine. We lose a turtle, but it's better than like losing a big attacker. He summons a Jinzo, which at this point is pretty much game over. It just runs through our 4-star Ladybug of Doom with ease.
Jinzo, start the cranking!
On our turn, we're just going to set the Bubonic Vermin and pass it over. At least this kind of gives us a couple more bodies to work with. Sky Scout comes down, and yeah, Jinzo just clears Bubonic, and I'll just float into the second one from the deck. And then we end up with our final Bubonic Vermin on the field. If we draw Jinzo, maybe we go for the Crash, but like we're so far down on card advantage. Although Morphing Jar number 2, that changes things considerably, because this card is actually very viable against the current state of the board. So we're going to set the Morphing Jar 2 down and just pass the turn. Tobias draws and summons down Overdrive. Heading into battle, I'm feeling pretty good because we're going to definitely trade for the Jinzo. Whether we actually get anything out of it that's positive is another matter, but Overdrive goes for the Vermin. A dirty rat. Cleans it up, and then Jinzo comes through and smacks down the Morphing Jar number 2.
Get ready for some fun.
We shuffle back all 3 of Tobias' monsters here, and he gets to mill until he reveals 3 monsters. So he gets Island Turtle in face down defense mode, another Morphing Jar, finally Girochin Kurogata. So we managed to avoid some damage and get rid of the Jinzo, but we've basically killed ourselves through sheer hubris. We're going to activate the Burning Land just to get a bit of a clock on, but to be fair, it's more likely to kill us at this stage. I mean, if Burning Land did 5,000 damage every turn, maybe we'd have a chance, but sadly, it's not. Sadly, it's only 500. Girochin flips up and deals 17 to us. It's okay. Tobias passes turn. We draw our own Girochin, which is decent in this scenario, given we know that he's got the Morphing Jar number 2. We don't really want to just crash it. If Tobias wants to out my monster, he's going to have to crash himself. Overdrive comes down, and yep, there goes the crash. Both the Girochins die, and we're going to take 16 here direct. At this point, the game is more or less won for Tobias, but we're just going to try and put up a fight with the Darkfire Soldier, at least to keep ourselves respectable. We get Mitchazoid here, which is not ideal, but it was going to happen at some point, given Tobias's plentiful back row. Just passes. Shaker is useless, we just pass. Down comes Darkfire Soldier number 1 and smacks us for 17. At this stage, I mean, Sky Scout, we're drawing like every single conceivable out to the monsters he puts on board, but it's just not going to be enough in the face of our own Burning Land. Sky Scout's going to try and clear the Darkfire Soldier, and we get Gravity Binded. Yeah. You know, I thought these games were going to be better than the endless crab turtle conga line of Magic Ruler, but this set is just not fun. Into that all-important game 3. We're going first here, and we have a pretty decent hand. We're going to go for the Ground Collapse, set a card, set Earth Shaker, and then set the Bite Shoes here. I'm just building up a bit of a wall. Tobias sort of mirrors us with this humble tea set. We're going to set down our new Solemn Wishes, as well as our 4-star Ladybug here. Down comes Darkfire Soldier. We're going to start with the Solemn Wishes Parade here, gaining 500 life points every standby phase, so just basically never die. Flip over our Ladybug here, pop the Darkfire Soldier, get Mitchazoid, which is fine. Tobias uses that to take out the Bite Shoes. We tribute the 4-star Ladybug for a Tower Wall, and we're just going to punch in here. Kissatai. Okay, this card is... What is this card? Okay, when the opponent attacks this face down card, it becomes an equip spell. During each of your opponent's standby phases, increase your life points by half with the attack of the monster equipped with this card. Oh, okay, so during each of my standby phases, I'll gain 500 life points from the Wishes, and Tobias will gain 1200 from being equipped to Beast of Tarwal. This is going to be a long game. We draw Mitchazoid, which is pretty good here. We're going to gain 500 from our Solemn Wishes. Tobias will gain 12. We're going to go for the Darkfire Soldier and set ourselves down Mitchazoid. Clean up a Girochin Kurogata, and then we're going to do 17 direct. Tobias sets a Mystery Monster past his turn. We gain our 500. He gains his 1200. We're going to normal summon down another Darkfire Soldier and just head into battle. Hit in and...
Get wrecked, scrub.
Yeah, we were mega punished there. We should have just kept one of the soldiers in hand for main phase 2. So we lose both our Darkfire soldiers, pass the turn. Tobias sets another mystery monster. My turn, we gain the life point shuffle. I think I might just put this on fast forward because this is going to be a long game. We draw Prohibition, which isn't that good. Island Turtle is funny, it doesn't really do much for us. We've got to press some advantage and do some damage, so we just summon him in attack mode and head in. Tobias is down to 10,000 life points, we're up to 11, we're both up to 11,000 again. Morphing Jar 2 is very annoying here. We get ourselves Island Turtle, Corrosion, and one of our Darkfire soldiers. Down comes Insect Barrier, and we have the out in Prohibition in hand, but we don't have any zones in the field to use to shut out DNA Surgery. Down comes Darkfire Soldier, and they just crash. I Mitcha Zoid so I could have my own Kuragata, so I had a monster, so I had a spell zone free. We're going to go Extermination here, try and get rid of Tobias' setback quote. It's an Imperial Order, which he chains up to negate the effect. We're just going to set one card face down and pass the turn after getting in some damage. He lets Imperial Order go here and activates the DNA Surgery, and at this point we're just cooked. We really shouldn't have clogged our zones here.
Congratulations, you have clogged
your field,
and your reward is going to be the awkward struggle of figuring out how to make things work again as quickly as possible. I
was thinking Imperial Order was just going to stay up for longer and we could use the Prohibition at a later point, but now we are basically dead. Even though we're going to infinitely gain life points with Solemn Wishes, we just can't attack, and there's very little things we can do here. We're going to float one Bubonic into another and float the second into the graveyard after his two guys attack it. And we draw another Earth Shaker, which is completely useless, and we just pass our turn here. Tobias draws, sets a card, and then starts the Tribute Pain rolling for a Wing Weaver. This is actually really problematic. This outs our Tower Wall, and we're basically down to nothing. We've got no real resources to actually do anything aside from life point wise. We get Time Sealed to lock ourselves from drawing again. Yikes. We draw into Sky Scout. I don't even know what's going on here. Time Seal is coming down. We're skipping our draw phase. Iron Turtle's clearing our guys. Wing Weaver's just being massive here. We go for the Earth Shaker, declare Earth to manage to pop the overdrive and at least free up one of our zones. Michizue is pretty strong here, but we just go for the extra Solemn Wishes because we can shuffle these guys back into the deck, and this gives us more life point power. He's going to get out of it a Garochin and a Sky Scout, and we just pass the turn. At this point, we're going to take 3,500 damage, which is quite a lot, but the Solemn Wishes are going to get us back up another 1,000. We go for our Bite Shoes here, just turn the Garochin sideways so we take less damage. Gain 1,000, lose 35. Gain 1,000, lose 35 again. Gain 1,000, lose 35 again. At this point, Tobias has actually put our life points lower than his, so we're in a really bad situation. We start discarding cards, and at this point, we have to go for the Morphing Jar. Tobias overcommits to the Wing Weaver. We shuffle them both back, and he starts milling and he gets Overdrive, and that's it. So we profited pretty nicely out of that exchange. We're still missing a level 4 lower monster. Down comes his two Chungas, and we're down to 4,100. Jinzo comes down on his next turn with a Tribute Summon, and this is pretty much game over. Although the Jinzo does nullify his own DNA Surgery, so if we had any way of doing anything, we could have come back. Unfortunately not. And oh god, we're going into a rematch. I thought we were done. Okay, game 4 apparently. We're setting one monster, and we're just going into the Cold Wave. We get the heads up read on the Bombardment Beetle to be able to pop his 4-star Ladybug, and then we're going to switch in with a Beast of Tower Wall for 2,400. Tobias sets and passes his turn, and onto our turn we draw Michizue. Set the Michizue down, and we're going to go for the Darkfire Soldier number 2 here. Kisatai. Deja vu, I just been in this place before. And we're going to deal 1,700 with a Darkfire Soldier. He comes down with his own Darkfire Soldier, clashes with ours. Passes turn. Back to our turn, and Tobias is gaining 1,200 because of the Kisatai. We set our Minor Goblin Official, go for the Island Turtle. At this stage we just want to go as aggressive as possible, punching him with both our dudes for 3,500 and pass the turn. Tobias goes for the Garochin here and attacks into our Island Turtle, dealing 600 back to us. At this stage we're going to Michizue, get rid of his Kuragata. We're going to Cold Wave, which you can't do in main phase 2. Alright, we're reversing course a bit. Tobias is going to cold wave before battle and just clear the Island Turtle. Gains his 1200 here. We're going to go for the Bite Shoes, just deal some damage here, punch over the Gyrochen, and then 500 direct. Tobias draws, goes for the Skull Mariner, clears our Bite Shoes here for 11. We go for Bite Shoes, clear the Skull Mariner, attack again. We're going to flip over the Minor Goblin Official and start that clock going. Overdrive comes down, easily takes out the Bite Shoes. We're just going to Mitchazoi him here. And with that, that's pretty much game. We just go for battle. And we overcommit with the Darkfire Soldier number 2, but I suppose what's he going to do about it? And that is the game. On to game 5, apparently. You know, I thought the Magic Ruler was bad enough, but I actually think at least the cards in Magic Ruler are proactive here. This set has so much stall. I have no idea why we did so many games of this. We're going to go for the Sky Scout with a couple of back row here, just punching into what is inevitably an Island Turtle. Take the 200 battle damage, and down comes another Darkfire Soldier. Tobias passes turn, and we draw into our Island Turtle. We're going to go straight for your boy Jinzo.
Now I summon my rarest monster to the field, Jinzo!
Just because it's pretty much the only card that might guarantee us to win here. Punch over the Darkfire Soldier number 2, and Tobias takes 700 damage here. Tobias sets another card and another monster and passes back to us. We drew the Bite Shoes, and we're heading into battle. Jinzo attacks Morphine Jar number 2.
Get ready for some fun.
And everything gets shuffled away. We get 4-star Ladybug of Doom out of this, as well as Bubonic Vermin, which is pretty good value, to be honest. Both of these cards present some really nasty advantage points. And then Tobias gets his own 4-star Ladybug of Doom, so we more or less traded even on that. I'm going to set down the Earthshake and pass turn. Tobias just passes. I'm going to flip Bubonic Vermin, grab the third one from the deck, so we do the second. And then we're going to tribute one for the Twin-Headed Fire Lion. Oh, we're going to Mitchazoi on our tribute, so I'm going to clear the 4-star. And then in battle, we're just going to hit in with the Twin-Headed Fire Dragon until we get Gravity Bound. Oh, God. And Mitchazoi as well, so we lose our monster anyway from killing the 4-star Ladybug. This is when agony begins to set in once more.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
We're going to hit in and crash into Skull Mariner here. Tobias summons Jinzo, which does turn off Gravity Bind, so it enables us to actually attack again, but the problem is we're confronted with Jinzo, which is very hard to deal with. 4-star Ladybug of Doom gets killed here. We're just going to tribute for our own Beast of Tarwal. Just try and crash these 2400 Chunkuses. It does mean we're back under Gravity Bind again, but at least we're in a decent position. We're going to set down the Swollen Wishes. Should have done that last turn, to be honest. Flip our final Bubonic Vermin up and just try and punch into an Island Turtle. Sky Scout comes down, but we're going to Earthshaker here, and Tobias will get rid of his Sky Scout here. Finally, we go for Solemn Wishes to start gaining some life points back, and we draw into Darkfire Soldier number 2. We'll set down our Island Turtle here. Extra Wall, Cold Wave comes down. I don't know why Tobias is running Cold Wave. I think I probably said to him it's one of the most broken cards ever, which it is, but it's not very useful in this current format. I'm going to go for the Darkfire Soldier number 2 here, just try and build up a bit of a field, and no combat because Gravity Bind. I think this one, at this point, this is a bit of a snoozer, so I'm just going to put fast forward on and head to bed, I think. Oh my gosh, 2 tributes, Wing Weaver comes down, just can't do anything. We're going to set another Solemn Wish here. Our turn, we're going to Earthshake and get rid of the Island Turtle. We're going to gain 1,000 life points now. We get IO'd onto the No Man. We set down our Morphin Jar number 2 and we're going to shuffle everything back here. We mill out Gyrochen, Morphin Jar 2, Island Turtle, and Darkfire Soldier. Tobias gets Kissatai, and Overdrive. Summons down a Darkfire Soldier. Just puts his guys in attack mode. We're going to do this Shuffle Buffle again. Everything back into the deck. Mill out some cards again. We get Darkfire Soldier number 2, Darkfire Soldier number 1, and Darkfire Soldier number 2, and Gyrochen Fever, and Island Turtle, just all the vanillas. Tobias likewise gets some vanillas plus a Kissatai. We draw into Jinzo, which actually enables us to win now because we turn off the Gravity Bind and we just go full aggro. Kissatai gets equipped to one of our Darkfire Soldiers. Jinzo clears the Skull Mariner and Gyrochen starts getting in for some lethal damage now. Inset barrier comes down, but it's too late, and that is the game. Looking at our progression deck, it's sort of a mishmash of basically any good card we've ever pulled out of the first 4 sets. The general cohesive strategy is brought together by, I suppose, the recruiters in Mystic Tomato into Sangan, as well as Giant Rat being able to float into Labyrinth Wall. But it's just really a who's who of busted DM staples as far as the spells are concerned. We've got Delinquent Duo, Heavy Storm, because there are now quite a number of problematic trap or spell cards that can be outed with this. Painful Choice, just essentially just to mill out some Pots of Greed and Upstart Goblin just within the deck. Triple Pot of Greed, Triple Rush Recklessly, because this card really performed well in the Progression Magic Ruler match. Triple Upstart Goblin, double Magic Drain to shut down Tobias's power spells, and double Michizora is just decent all-round removal. In the monster department, we've got the 4-star Ladybug of Doom, 1 Giant Rat which can float, as I said, into our Labyrinth Wall, which is just a huge defender which can be a massive problem for Tobias to out. We've got 1 Jinzo, because even though there aren't too many traps at this stage of the Yu-Gi-Oh that are worth like negating, just being able to make sure your Michizora proof is pretty good. Triple Duo Guma, it's still the best level 4 lower monster we have. 1 Morphing Jar 2, this card is Chaos and I love it.
Oh, the chaos.
We've got triple Mystic Tomato that floats into Sangan, which can just get us into anything. We've got the double Shining Angel, which now actually floats us into White Magical Hat for some hand ripping. Some vanillas now, so we've got 3 Darkfire Soldiers and Sky Scout, which are just our best defensive vanillas. 1 Mystical Elf, who's just a decent defender, we can float into with Shining Angel if need be. The Labyrinth Wall for Giant Rat, and Summon Skull is just our biggest dude. All around, it's just kind of good stuff turbo. There's no real consistent or prevailing strategy. Okay, we win the rock, paper, scissors and elect to go first. Looking at our opening hand, anything with Pot of Greed is good. We've got the Sangan as well that can float into most things. We draw into Mystic Tomato, which is very strong in just being able to ensure we have a monster to tribute for Summon Skull. We draw 2 into another Upstart Goblin.
Another one.
Which we use to draw another Pot of Greed.
Another one.
We're just going to fire this off here. Literally, our deck is going to be so thin at the end of this turn. Painful Choice on top.
Another one.
We're going to send 2 Upstart Goblins and 3 Darkfire Soldiers here. Tobias gives us the Upstart Goblin. We're just going to fire off and give Tobias another 1,000. We draw into Shining Angel, and we're going to set down the Mystic Tomato as well as 1 back quote and pass for turn. Tobias opens up with Umiruka. Oh god, we're good. And Gyojin is down. We're still on the water beats. Okay. Gyojin comes through, clears our Tomato, and floats into a middle one. Gyojin obviously with the boost from Umiruka. We draw, we're just going to tribute for the Summon Skull just to get that Gyojin out of here. Doing the first lick of damage here, although Tobias is still way up because of the Upstart Goblins. Tobias draws Dark Elf, normal summons that, and Rush Recklessly in damage step. We go for our own Rush Recklessly just so we're able to clear the Dark Elf here. Tobias is going to take 1,000 for attacking and then another 700 from the exchange. Passes it back to us, we draw into Shining Angel. At this point we're going to go for the Joy Guma and we're just going to start punching on in, being aggressive with the Summon Skull. Tobias draws, sets a Mystery Monster and sets a back row. On our turn we draw into Sky Scout, which is a really good card. We're going to go for the Nobleman here, try and pop whatever he's got cooking back there. Turtle Oath, okay, not much going on. We're going to go for the Sky Scout here and we're just going to head into battle. Sky Scout's going to try and clear what he's got set down, and it's a Witch. With the Witch, Tobias picks up a 7-coloured fish. We're just going to go in with the Summon Skull and with the Jirai Guma here. Heads always shreds, baby. And tails means we take 4,000 damage, which is not too bad given that Tobias is down to a measly 750. Down comes 7-coloured fish who is refusing to load the picture, and he just clears our Sky Scout for 500 damage. We draw, and this is just game over. We go for the fissure, and then we just walk in for the game. Into game 2. This time Tobias likes to go first, and our hand is nowhere near as explosive as last game, but we got the Painful Choice which can help us deck thin a bit. First up comes the Sonic Bird, which is going to fetch Tobias' Turtle Oath, and he's just going to pass on that. We're going to draw into Magic Drain, and we're just going to fire off the Painful Choice here, hoping to mill out 3 Upstarts as well as 2 Darkfire Soldiers. Tobias grants us a Soldier, which we're just going to slap on down and just beat on over his Sonic Duck with.
That's not a duck!
Sonic Bird. Sonic Bird, yeah, Sonic Duck is a different card. Pass the turn by setting down the Magic Drain and the Rush Recklessly. Over to Tobias. Down comes Umiruka and 7-coloured fish. We're going to Magic Drain the Umiruka here. which Tobias does not have a way to negate. He's not going to bother going for combat because he probably expects to rush recklessly. We're going to go for our own rush recklessly on our turn, pump our Darkfire Soldier to 2400, clear the 7 colour fish, and then attack directly with our second soldier. We're going to just pass the turn. Tobias draws, sets a mystery monster, and it's over to us again. We're just going to keep the Darkfire Soldiers going. We don't really see a need to overcommit into a Mystic Tomato. Possibly could have gone for Shining Angel then, because we could have floated into something with that. Tobias elects to go for the Witch with his Mystic Tomato, and we're just going to clear that and let him get his search. He grabs Senju, and we know he's already got the Turtle Oath, so we know that Crab Turtle is coming. We're going to set a Mystery Monster and pass the turn. Tobias goes for the Senju here, which is going to grab him the Turtle.
But you know what the worst part of all is? I never learned to read!
That was a massive misplay. This guy adds the Ritual Monster, not the Ritual Spell. I'm going to go for the Morphin Jar 2 here, shuffle him back into the deck, and shuffle our Darkfire Soldiers back. Tobias gets out of it another Senju, which gets set down, which is actually really good for Senju, because when Senju's flip face up, or flips on to get that ability again, we mill out Sky Scout and Darkfire Soldier number 1. So we set those 2 face down, and Tobias just passes his turn. Over to our turn, we're going to flip our monsters up, and we're just going to normal summon the Shining Angel just to get in a bit more damage. Shining Angel is going to clear his Senju here, and we're going to attack him for 3500. I fully expect Crab Turtle to come down, but we've got ourselves in a pretty good position where Crab Turtle by itself doesn't just win the game. Down comes the Turtle Oath, and Sonic Bird and the Kazajin are sacrificed to make the almighty pictureless Crab Turtle. Crab Turtle swings on in, kills our Sky Scout, taking out 750 damage, and Tobias just passes turn. This stage, we've won. Oh, and Tobias then summons Joagumo and passes turn. Tobias, oh my gosh. Okay, so resolving the game state here, Tobias summoned Joagumo, attacked Darkfire Soldier. We kind of did this, we talked about this after it happened, so we don't actually have him attacking because it had gone to my turn by that point. But yeah, he attacked over the Darkfire Soldier, flipped heads, called heads, didn't have to half his life points, and then we lost our soldier.
And now we return you to our regular scheduled program.
We're going to go for the fissure here, pop his Joagumo, and then we're going to tribute for our Lab Ball. Tobias just sets a monster, passes turn, doesn't want to take any recoil damage, which is fair enough. We're going to set our Sangan here, hoping that can get us into something that actually deals with the Crab Turtle. Tobias draws and sets another mystery monster, and just going to go into the Sangan. Sangan loses, obviously, and we're going to grab with him another Mystic Tomato just to kind of give us a bit more fodder. Tobias are going to pass the turn, and it's back to us. We draw Pot of Greed, which is just about as good as it gets. We're going to go for that, and we draw Michizoi and Mystic Tomato. Mystic Tomato is kind of bad because I think that's our last one in the deck. Oh no, we still have one in the deck, so we can still float for one. And we have the Michizoi, which is a really good way to actually out this Crab Turtle. So we're going to set the Michizoi and we're going to set the Mystic Tomato down. And we're kind of back in this game a little bit. Painful Choice comes down from Tobias. And we get Pot of Greed, Imperial Order, Bro, double Imperial Order?
You've got to be kidding!
God. Michizoi and Michizoi. None of those are great, but I'm kind of good to see 4 of them gone. So we give him a Michizoi here because I know that's going to trade for one of our monsters once we pop the Crab Turtle, but that's okay by me. He's just going to pass turn. We're going to go for the Nobleman here. We can get rid of his Michizoi, which is just a potential problem, and we lose our own Michizoi from the deck because of it. We pass turn and Tobias draws. He just sets a simple monster and just passes the turn back to us. We draw another Mystic Tomato, so now the one we've got in the field can't even float.
Oh yes. They float.
Wrong. We're just going to set that and pass the turn. Not really sure what Tobias is cooking here with his massive walls, but it's just making us upset because we can't deal with the Crab Turtle, and the only way we can deal with the Crab Turtle is if he attacks and kills one of our monsters. We draw the Giant Rat, set that face down, and we're just kind of at a stalemate here. At this point I realise I have to go aggressive myself and actively flip my own Michizoi after my own combat. So we're going to go for the Giant Rat into the Crab Turtle. I'll take 1100 here and Michizoi him out of here. We float on into nothing because we've already used the Lab Ball. We're going to go for the Mystic Tomato into one of his 2k defenders. It's Giant Soldier of Stone, so we take the 600 here. Mystic Tomato is going to attack his other face down set monster, and it's a Witch of the Black Forest. with which Tobias grabs Jinzo. We're just gonna sacrifice one of our tomatoes for our own Jinzo and pass the turn. Tobias sets down a face down and tributes his giant soldier of stone for Jimmy Joe. Boost it with Horn of the Unicorn. Why are you still on this card, Tobias? It lost you last match. Oh. I suppose it's going to win in this one though, so I suppose the unicorns get their revenge. We're going to take 700 here, lose our Jinzo, and it's pretty much game over. I don't think I've got a single thing left in deck that can really stand up to this, other than like Beast the Tower and like Rush Recklessly maybe. Anyway, we crash into a giant soldier of stone, take another 300 here. Tobias normal summons the Dark Elf, and that's just a lot of damage, but riskier, because if he attacks with that, he's down to 300. We take our 1400 from the combat, and we're just going to set down our final Mystic Tomato here. Tobias just starts picking apart our defenses. First, the Mystical Elf falls to his Jinzo. We draw the Magic Drain, which we set, doesn't really do much. We're going to set Magical Hats White Magical Hat here, just so we have a bit more potential protection if he decides to go vertical. Down goes the Hats, and we draw Jiraigumo. At this point, we're just setting this card, just because there's nothing we can do. Jinzo clears the final Mystic Tomato. We've got nothing left in deck. We're going to deck out. We got a Shining Angel. We'll just set that pass. Mystic Tomato dies, and he knows he can't float into anything. Our turn, we draw the Rush Recklessly, which actually does put us back in the game, provided we draw a strong enough monster. Down comes the Shining Angel, and Turflight gets discarded. We're going to Pot of Greed. We're going to Pot of Greed again. We're going to Heavy Storm, because at least that gets rid of the Horn of the Unicorn for a turn, put it to the top of the deck. We forgot to do the mandatory effect of Horn of the Unicorn here. Not that it really matters too much. We lose our Jiraigumo here. Ooh, we flip the 7-coloured. We flip the 4-star Ladybug, pop the Dark Elf, and then down comes Summon Skull to combat the Jinzo. Jimmy Joe dies, and we pass turn. Tobias draws for turn, fissures our Skull out of here, and Mahavilo with the Malevolent Nuzzler, putting it to 2750. It's going to attack in. It's not going to be enough. The wall always prevails, and Tobias takes 250 from the combat. Main phase 2 is going to fissure the Labyrinth Wall, get out of here. We draw a Delinquent Jiro. We're just going to normal summon the Jiraigumo. We're going to Rush Recklessly. And it's just not enough. The game is over. We decked ourselves. Oh, yeah. Into game 3. At least we decked ourselves by playing generally proactively. It wasn't like Gravity Bind stall, I suppose. Okay, this is a decent hand for going first. We're just going to set the Mystic Tomato and the Michizori and the Rush Recklessly and just pass the turn. Tobias draws, sets down a couple of cards and passes back to us. We get the Heavy Storm, which is really useful, but not while we've got 2 back rows. We're going to flip open our Tomato and attack in with the Darkfire Soldier. It's his own Tomato, which is going to use to float into a Witch, which we're just going to have to kill. With his Witch, Tobias picks up the Jimjo. I guess just like the threat, even though he hasn't got a monster on field tribute, the threat of knowing it's in the hand kind of makes it a very strong play. He's going to set the card face down and go for the Spider. Our turn, we go for the Darkfire Soldier. Imperial Order comes down. So our Rush Recklesslies are useless. Tobias lets the Imperial Order go because he's drawn Painful Choice. Seems pretty good. Sends Senju, Sonic, and Witch. We're going to give him the Sonic Bird here. He's going to set a Mystery Monster and pass it back to us. We draw into Mystic Tomato and we're going to put our Darkfire Soldier forward again. We're just going to try and punch over this Jiraigumo because now there's no Imperial Order. We can Rush Recklessly. Tobias Rush Recklessly of his own. And we go for the 3rd Rush Recklessly. This Darkfire Soldier is more reckless than Godwin. That's a reference for the real ones. Only the real ones get that reference. We're going to punch on him with our other Darkfire Soldier and hit a Soldier of Stone. Main phase 2, we're going to normal summon our Jiraigumo, just get ourselves a big presence on board. Down comes the Jinzo, which turns off our Michizori. Jinzo punches over the Jiraigumo, we're going to take 200 here. In hindsight, I probably could have Michizori'd when I killed his first monster to then get rid of his... No, actually... no, because the monster wasn't sent from my field to the graveyard, so I couldn't do that. Anyway, so Jiraigumo is just going to ice our Michizori, and we're just going to have to play a little defensively for the while. We set down the second Mystic Tomato and turn our guys sideways. 7-coloured fish comes down. This time its image has loaded, and it starts picking apart our soldiers. We draw for turn, and Morphing Jar 2 is a pretty darn good draw. We're going to set it down and just hope we get all lucky from it. Sonic Bird comes down and Tobias picks up his Turtle Oath. Heads into battle, clears the Mystic Tomato. Float into a second Mystic Tomato. Skull, 7 colored fish kills that Mystic Tomato, and we're going to float into ourselves Sangan. And then the Jinzo just going to swipe the Sangan out as well. With Sangan, we're going to pick up 4-star Ladybug of Doom. It seems pretty good against his current field, and Tobias is just going to pass. We draw into Mind Drain, Magic Drain, which is completely useless. We're going to flip over our Morphing Jar 2.
Get ready for some fun.
Shuffle back our 2 monsters and Tobias' 3 monsters. We get ourselves Shining Angel, Jirai Gumo, and Tobias gets Gyojin. We're going to Heavy Storm here, get rid of our Michizori and his Turtle Oath. And then we're just going to set down our second Michizori and our Magic Drain, as well as our 4-star Ladybug. Tobias goes for a double tribute summon for Kazajin. This card is back. And Kazajin is just going to run over the 7 colored fish. Sorry, the 4-star Ladybug of Doom. I get these cards mixed up, even though they're completely different, just because they have a number in their name. I am not very smart.
You're a stage 5 dumbass.
We're going to go for the Michizori, pop the Kazajin here, and Tobias is going to pass. At this point, we just have to get aggressive. We've got 2 Jirogumos and a Shining Angel. Shining Angel's going to punch it in for 1400. We're not going to risk the Jirogumos, but they're just going to sit here staring at Tobias menacingly.
He's just standing there, menacingly.
Magic Drain flips over to negate Tobias' Pot of Greed. He's going to discard the Turtle Oath to negate the Magic Drain, so he does still draw 2. Into Mahavilo and Horn of the Unicorn. This is 2750. Easily runs over one of our spiders. I'm going to take 550 here. Tobias passes turn, it's on down to us. We draw ourselves an Upstart Goblin, which means we get another draw. We're just going to file off the Delinquent Draw here, pay 1000, and just swipe 2 cards out of Tobias' hand. The Crab Turtle and the Turtle Oath. At this point, I guess Tobias has realised that it's unlikely that Crab Turtle can be played. Mahavilo is going to punch on in and clear our second Gumo here, so we'll take another 550. We draw into Giant Rat, which is actually pretty useful in this scenario because that can float us into Lab Wall, which at least protects against the Mahavilo. Not if he attacks in this order. Mahavilo clears Giant Rat. We elect not to float. 7 colored fish just clears the Shining Angel and we float into Mystical Elf. Our turn, we draw a Mystic Tomato. We're going to turn things sideways and set down the Mystic Tomato. Tobias draws a Sonic Bird, which is going to grab him nothing because he's all out of the ritual spells. And combat, we just lose our Mystic Elf and our Mystic Tomato. Do we have anything to float into? We do not. And so we're going to take 1400 from the Sonic Bird here. And we're drawing into the worst card in our deck at this scenario. Match to Tobias. I offer a rematch inexplicably.
What's the reason for all of this? Why do
Benbow and Tobias
have to keep on
dueling?
I have to find out why!
And we're still playing more of this format because it never ends. This episode is going to be 2 hours long, and this is episode 2. Nobody's going to watch it. Well, nobody's watched the first episode anyway because I have a very small YouTube channel. Regardless, Tobias goes down for the Muka, just a commanding play with 5 cards in hand. We're drawing into Upstart Goblin plus our Pot of Greed, so we're just drawing forever. We're going to go for Mystic Tomato here and go battle, and in combat we're going to fire off the Wash Recklessly and double Wash Recklessly to boost ourselves to 28 to clear that 2400. Tobias takes 700 here, and we're just going to set down our Michizori and our Magic Drain as insurance. Tobias sets and passes. We're going to go for the tribute for the Jinzo here. Jinzo's going to easily clear his Witch. Witch will grab himself his own Jinzo. I think it's a bit too late. It's going to painful choice away all of his ritual searches and a Michizori. We're going to give him the Michizori because that does nothing while we have Jinzo. Down comes the Mahavilo plus the Horn of the Unicorn, which does out us. We're going to Michizori that Mahavilo and clear that. We're going to go Darkfire Soldier here for 1700, and then we're going to go for the second Darkfire Soldier here to just punch him for 34. Tobias' life points are halved, and that's the end of the game. We're going to go into yet another duel here. We're going to speed run these ones real quick. We draw under an opening hand. Tobias is going to straight away just go for the Crab Turtle, pick up the 7 colour fish with the Witch he's discarded. We're going to go for Upstart Goblin, draw a card. We're going to go for the Fissure followed by the Giant Rat, set 1. 7 colour fish comes down, clears our Giant Rat. We're going to float into nothing because we drew the Lab Wall. We're going to set down our Mystical Elf. He's going to go Sonic Bird, pick up the Turtle Oath. Same Colour Fish clears the Mystical Elf, Sonic Bird clears our life points as well. We're going to draw Sky Scout, Sky Scout's going to clear the Sonic Bird, and we're still not in a good position. We lose the boosted 7 Colour Fish, we're going to set down our Mystic Tomato. Jinzo comes down after being tributed summoned, and at this point in the game we are just coping. With our final Mystic Tomatoes, we float into Sangan, and then we're going to painful choice just to get some dead cards out of our deck. Tobias gives us our Upstart Goblin, which we use to draw into a Morphing Jar number 2. We're going to tribute the Sangan, set down the Labyrinth Wall, and grab a Shining Angel with the Sangan. Jinzo plus Malevolent Nuzz is just enough to clear the Labyrinth Wall, so we're going to take 2300 from the 7 Colour Fish here. We're going to Heavy Storm, just get rid of his back row, and we're going to set down the Morphing Jar number 2, which is basically the only card that we have. Tobias overcommits to another double tribute summon, and he's going to start milling. He gets himself a Sonic Bird and a Senju. We're going to go for our Shining Angel, which clears this Sonic Bird. He's just going to... We're going to crash with a Shining Angel, and then he's not... No. We're going to tribute the Shining Angel for the Jinzo. He was just going to start dismantling him with Jinzo. We tribute our summon... we tribute the Joy Grimmer now for the Summon Skull, and we're just punching it in for pretty much close to lethal. Fissure going to come and clean it up, but there's not enough that Tobias has to win. And that is the final duel. And there you have it. That is the end of episode 2. And I think we've categorically proved through this series, as well as other Progression and Sealed series, that Yu-Gi-Oh! Really should have just stopped in 2002. Like, I have no idea how market forces viewed that this series was going to be profitable to keep making cards for. Because if I was playing competitively back then, and this was my experience playing a duel and just getting like womboed, Pot of Greeded into Painful Choice, into Heavy Storm, into, I don't know, Time Seal and Morphing Jar 2, like, who wants to play a game like this? This is just so unfun. It's like, it's simultaneously unfun and boring because the monsters mostly do nothing, and the spells and traps are just so ridiculously overtuned that they just make it almost impossible to match up against. Next episode, we're going to be moving on to Labyrinth of Nightmare and Dark Beginning 1. Now, this obviously differs from the actual chronological release dates of these sets, but the reason I wanted to do it this way was so we get another shot at these recruiters and cards from these early sets while they're still playable and not banned in the Dark Beginning 1, rather than having to wait another couple of years to get them when most of the monsters and stuff by that point will probably be power crept out of the game. This way we just kind of get access to some of these earlier cards more to be able to buff up our ratios a bit better. If you made it to this far in the video without skipping ahead, you are a real one. Comment down below, Thanos was right, and I'll award you with a like reaction. I wish Thanos had come in like 2001 and then he could have just snapped everyone before Yu-Gi-Oh! Even became a thing. Goodbye.